Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. It is wonderful to have you along for the ride. Oh, boy. All right. Let me start at the end. Eagles win. The Eagles beat the Rams. I got confidence they're going to beat the Rams. I believe they're the better all-around football team. I know this is going to be a challenge. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think they win. I'll give you my score later. However, I am not one to look at A.J. Brown and throw the word diva at him with ease like so many other people. I don't consider him to be that. I defended him during his ice out of the media 2 years ago. I figured he had nothing nice to say, so he didn't want to say anything at all. And that's exactly what he said when he eventually did address the media. His even saying, they would need to work on passing last year after the Panthers game. Well, he was right. And you know who else said it? The head coach, Devontae Smith, the quarterback. Everybody said it. So it wasn't like he was the only one going like, yeah, this pass game's terrible. No. And he has been a model citizen. Even going into that Panthers game last year when he wasn't getting the looks he thought he should get, people were presenting his numbers to him while he was sitting there at his locker, standing there at his locker. And he even was playing the game. He was smiling. He was laughing. And he's like, you're not going to get me. You're not going to get me. You're not going to get me. Like, in other words, you're not going to get me to give you a story about how frustrated I am. And then that'll spiral out of control. I'm not going to do it. And I was like, good for him. I love this. And I thought it was funny. And then a lot of people didn't think it was funny, even in the moment. And then a little bit later, after the Panthers game, it certainly wasn't funny when he said, what's the offense need to work on? Passing, quote unquote. This brings us to yesterday. Yesterday, he's standing at his locker, and as you would assume, he's getting questions about a lack of production. He's getting questions about the numbers not being there. At one point, last week, you remember, he was praised for blocking, and he said he's not in this for participation trophies. Here's the bottom line. A.J. Brown wants catches. A.J. Brown wants touchdowns. That's what he wants. Yards, probably too. But he wants catches, and he wants touchdowns. Doesn't give a damn about blocking. Doesn't give a damn about 4-yard receptions, even if they're miraculous one-handed catches. Doesn't care about any of that. He cares about scoring points for this football team. That's what he cares about. And he's not doing that right now. And the reason he's not doing it right now is because the passing game does seem rather out of sync, to use Jalen Hurts' words, not my own. And the thing that scares me so much about that is exactly what Jalen Hurts used to describe the Eagles' passing game after that awful passing game against the Carolina Panthers. Now, the good news and the saving grace of all that is Jalen put up 290 yards in the very next game and literally sat there at the podium and said, is that what you all wanted to see? All right, say it with your chest, Jalen. Everything looked to be in sync in that game. But out of sync is the way he described that offense after that Panthers game. Jalen Hurts did. That was presented to A.J. Brown yesterday, and he thought that, especially in picking up the zero blitzes, that they did a phenomenal job communicating, being in sync, and all that. But the rest of the way, that's where they were having some issues. I watched all of A.J. Brown at his locker yesterday, and he even got presented with more, I'll call it, participation trophies. And Zach Berman was asking him the questions about excuse me. He was asking him the questions about, hey, I know the box score doesn't look good, but you're good in this, you're good in that. And he was naming all these like analytical things, And A.J. Brown was just like, don't care. Okay. He didn't say I don't care, but you got that feeling. I'll let you hear from A.J. in a second. It wasn't good. I'll let you hear what A.J. Brown had going on when it came to a defensive back he could be facing this weekend that he's had some great success against in years past, a former commander, as a matter of fact. Also, him talking about getting on the same page as his quarterback and how this passing game improves overall. Now, the reason this is such a big deal is that this game in particular, I feel, is going to be a game where passing is going to be a necessity. Now, you can obviously look at that and say that Saquon Barkley initially went absolutely bananas against the Rams last year, both in the playoffs and in the regular season. Why would passing be such a thing? Well, similar to the way that you just saw with Steve Spagnuolo and the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, they're going to see it for a third time now. Third time in 2 years. Chiefs just 2 times in 2 years. All right, not that bad. It's going to be a little bit different. They are going to key in, I think, a lot more on Saquon Barkley. And I'll go over the numbers that Saquon Barkley was able to post against the Rams in all of last year, and it is absolutely insane. But the other part of this is that A.J. Brown, especially in the regular season game, went off for, I believe it was 6 catches and 109 yards against this Rams team and a touchdown. This could be a game for him where he gets back involved in this offense and becomes a focal point, not just of doing the little things that, yes, he'll do, which is what I believe does not make him a diva. He still goes out there and does his job. Good. And he does take pride in that. He didn't lead to say he doesn't take pride in it. He does take pride in it. But he'll go out there and not only do those little things that he does so well, whether it's catching a quick slant that doesn't go very far, but still gets that look, gets that target, gets that reception, or the guy that takes it into the house or takes it to the house. He's even happier to do that. I believe this is going to be a game where I think he and Devontae Smith have to do that, because you are going to be going up against a passing attack in Puka Nacua, in Devontae Adams, obviously with Matthew Stafford slinging the football, Tutu Atwell. These guys are very good wide receivers. This could very well fall into the world of a shootout. And if that happens, then you're, of course, going to need A.J. Brown to be on top of his game, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert up and running for this game, hopefully. This could be that game where, hey, we do whatever it takes to win. Well, what it takes to win could mean 250, 300 yards from your quarterback, both wide receivers getting 100 yards, that type of thing. This could very well be that game, especially if the Rams are able to focus in a lot on Adoree Jackson. And even for Quentin Mitchell, even Cooper DeJean, they could be all over Devontae Adams. They could be all over Puka Nacua. And those guys will still find ways to make plays, especially when you talk about a guy like Puka Nacua who could hurt you in the run game, literally lined up. He wasn't a fullback, but like he was lined up like a fullback against the Titans last week. And they use him so many different ways. And he has had good games against the Eagles in years past, last year in particular. These are very versatile, very talented weapons that they have in the Rams offense. Your defensive line is going to have to continue to get better to speed up that clock and shorten the time that Matthew Stafford has to make plays. Matthew Stafford, I know people want to talk about how old he is, how long he's been in the league. This guy, and he did it just last week against the Titans, can still get out of the pocket, can still throw the ball downfield. He can still make all the angled throws he needs to make in order to get it to his receivers. He's a very good quarterback. You could say also that, hey, you just faced Patrick Mahomes last week and you did all right. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, I think, would punch family members in the face to have the wide receiving core right now at his disposal that Matthew Stafford has. So it is going to be, I think, a very difficult game, but one that the Eagles have to be absolutely on point for. And I talked about the Eagles' defensive line. Yeah, the Rams' defensive line is pretty stacked as well. So we'll get into the whole nitty-gritty of it coming up in a little bit, but I do not think this is going to be an easy game. I think the passing attack in particular is going to have to be on top of its stuff in this game to be able to pull out the victory. And I would say that after watching the first 2 games of the season, you want to talk about startup costs with Kevin Patullo. You want to talk about startup costs in general for a team that didn't play in the preseason. If you want to throw those as excuses, fine. But I'm looking for a team that's going to be on point in this game coming up here against the Rams. And I can only hope that another play caller, another offensive coordinator, that the startup costs are now over and they'll be able to get after it as a complete offense. Not just a running attack, but a complete offense in this game here against the Rams, because I certainly think they're going to need it. Without further ado, by the way, the Phillies also start a 3-game weekend series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. That'll be fun. this weekend. Diamondbacks, pretty good baseball team. Pretty good baseball team. They're trying to get a lot of stuff done here in the closing weeks of the season, final 2 weeks of the season, actually. Here's what they got going on. Phillies, 91-62 on the season. The Diamondbacks, 77-76 on the season. That's the way that one works. As far as the wild card goes, they are 2 games behind the New York Mets, as are the Cincinnati Reds. So that's the way that's looking right now, going into the series that starts tonight at 9:45 or 9:40 in Arizona. 3-game weekend series. Good times. Taijuan Walker will be the opener, starter. I'll use opener because they'll have to go Taijuan Walker to Walker Buehler. Is the way it looks like they're going to shake things up a little bit tonight. They'll go against Ryan Nelson. All right. So yesterday, A.J. Brown's in his locker, and the defensive back, Manuel Forbes, A.J. Brown has had a lot of success against in the past, particularly when Forbes was with the Washington Commanders, including taking him for a 51-yard reception, it was, I believe, yeah. So you think that you might be a little excited, and even if you are, you might not say, quite frankly, oh, well, I'm really looking forward to torching that guy. That guy sucks. I don't really think that's going to come out. But this was his answer when he was asked about facing a defensive back that he's had success against.
To be honest, Manuel Forbes is I mean it's in a positive way for the last of my worries at this moment. I'm just trying to focus on, my job and, get this thing rolling on offense. It's not about the person that I'm going against. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Last of my worries. Don't take this the wrong way, but the last of my worries. No, I'm sure no one will take anything A.J. Brown says that's not, yippee, I love it here, as, this could be a problem. Here's when he was asked about what they need to improve on and how they improve on the passing.
Obviously, there's things that we can be better at, just being on the same page. I don't want to give you guys a story late in the week and going into the game, but yeah, just honestly, I can't say just being on the same page and, just playing fast and communicate. So.
Obviously, I don't want to give you guys a story this late in the week going into the. Obviously, I don't want to give you a story. Obviously, I don't want to give you a story. Well, then there's a story. And this isn't the first time that he's alluded to a story that's bigger than what we're watching on the football field, or bigger than what we're hearing from Jalen Hurts or Nick Sirianni or Kevin Patullo or A.J. Brown himself. I don't want to give you a story only implies that there's a story. That helps nothing. I hated that answer. I'm the guy that defends A.J. Brown, but this is tough. This is tough. And then finally, the last one was all about facing the zero blitzes. And I believe it was my man John McMullen that asked the question. Here's A.J. Brown yesterday when asked about the communication between he and Jalen Hurts when facing the zero blitzes against the Chiefs.
I thought it went well. Obviously, if he keeps saying it, then he may feel like he needs to do better, or we need to do better at it. So.
You talked about, making a story. It feels like whenever you don't get a lot of targets nationally, you become a story, right? Nationally, is AJ happy?
Yeah.
He's going to get traded. He couldn't possibly be happy in Philly. Do you have any reaction to that conversation that always seems to be around you?
No.
Oh, jeez. All right. Obviously, I don't have a positive reaction to just this. And let me say, on the football field, which is what matters above everything else, he's been great. Are the touchdowns there? Are the receptions there? Are the yards there? Absolutely not. But he's been great. He has been blocking. He has been at least drawing the coverage that he should be drawing, even after the Cowboys game. He talked about zone coverage. He talked about being bracketed. He talked about how he is 100% healthy. And yeah, he did block well. So everything on the football field, which is what matters in all of this, everything on the football field, model citizen. But the only reason I point out all this is because I don't know how anyone could watch that and not think that there's a little rumbling beneath the volcano. Now, the good news in all of this is that nothing has exploded There's been nothing over dramatic. There's been no drama at all, really. And the best of it all is that I do think he has to be a focal point of the Eagles offense to be able to go out there and win. So if he wants numbers, I think this is the game he gets the numbers. I think the matchup works well for him. And also, I think that the game plan is going to have to work extremely well for him also. I could see Puka Nacua and Davante Adams having themselves a hell of a game. If you're not having Quinyon Mitchell follow someone like Davante Adams around, or Puka Nacua, wherever he is, if you're going to see a lot more of Cooper DeJean on Nacua, then yeah, you could obviously have success and you could limit what he's got going on. But even if these are very talented receivers, and if they get that half step, that is going to be the wide open that everyone always talks about at the NFL level. Also, the pass rush getting in the face of Jalen Hurts again, which was another problem last week. It forced the Eagles to go into the short throws. It forced them into check downs with Saquon Barkley, screens to Devontae Smith. It forced the short game in the passing game. They could do very similarly with the defensive line that they have in Los Angeles. So everything is at least pointing in the direction of, if there is anything that is rumbling underground right now or underneath it all with A.J. Brown, this could all just go away like that, and he could be doing cartwheels in the Eagles locker room after this game. That's what I'm going to be rooting for. I do think, again, the Eagles win this game, and I think A.J. Brown is going to be a focal point of this game. So let's jump into it a little bit further. First off, when you just break down the numbers right now with the Eagles, looking at some things I was putting together yesterday, passing game, 3 passes of 20-plus yards. They've attempted. Okay? The Eagles have attempted 3 plays of 20-plus yards. Just want to stress that. We know that the only plays that they've had of more than 20 yards so far this season was Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson, week 1 against the Cowboys for 51 yards. And then last week's floater to Devontae Smith for 28 yards. One of the things I loved about that, if you didn't watch Jalen Hurts mic'd up, I highly suggest you guys do that going into this game. It just shows what a phenomenal leader Jalen Hurts is, and it's worth the time. You should check it out. But yeah, basically him just going up to Devontae Smith and being like, yeah, next one we got. And sure enough, the next one they got it for 28 yards, setting up what would be the really the go-ahead touchdown. And if you remember at that moment, that was, or really the game-sealing touchdown, I should call it, because that was after the Drew Makuba interception that led to the 28-yard reception by Devontae Smith, and then later the tush-push touchdown. I also loved, real quick, while I'm on that, I think everybody and their mother knew that Jalen Hurts was in on the first tush-push attempt to put him up 20-13, or 20-10, excuse me. I think everybody and their mother knew that he was in. Well, everybody on the Eagles sideline was like, he's in. And they're like, nope, he's not in. Do it again. And they made him do it again. And then he got it again. So that was just a funny little exchange that they had on the sidelines there while watching Jalen Hurts cross the goal line and then having to do it again. The touchdown that put him up 20-10. So I would really love to see both Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown really get theirs. I'd love for Dallas Goedert to be healthy in this game and get after it. But you're talking about right now a combined 13 receptions between A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith going into this game. That's not great over the first 2 games of the season. And this is also talking about A.J. Brown, who, by the way, was targeted 8 times last week, did get 5 receptions, but for just 27 yards. There's one play in particular that I would have loved to seen him get, and that was the one-handed grab. As miraculous as that was, I don't know if he stepped on the defensive back's foot or if he just slipped on the turf over there in Arrowhead, but if he stays on his feet, that ball was right there. And it's one of those plays where you just don't know how far A.J. Brown was. I don't even think I mentioned that yesterday when I was talking about just accuracy of Jalen Hurts. Just had 2 missed throws. Unfortunately, had the fumble to open things up, but that was not a missed throw by Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown on the A.J. Brown one-handed catch. A.J. Brown slipped. If he didn't, maybe it's one of those where he just keeps running, he breaks a tackle, he gets you a 20-yard gain even. I don't know. But that was one of the plays that I think AJ would like to have back, certainly. So I'd love to see that get going for the Eagles in this game. Now, everyone wants to talk about Saquon Barkley, and rightfully so. Saquon Barkley was not having a very good first half against the LA Rams in LA the first time they saw him last year. The second half, he broke out 70-yard runs. Like that was like literally, I think it was the first play of the second half, just like, oh, here you go, Saquon, but gone, touchdown. That's a nice button to push. That's a nice adjustment to make. And he broke through the offensive line, broke through their defensive line, and he just took it to the house twice in that second half. In the Week 12 matchup, it was 255 yards, just under 10 yards per carry, and those two long touchdowns that he had. So, yeah, one might just say, yeah, give it to Saquon. What did he do in the divisional round? 205 yards. 205 yards. I'd love to say, yeah, sure, just do this again and you'll be fine. But something tells me third time's going to be the charm. Not that they're going to be able to stop Saquon Barkley, but I would expect the Rams to be able to contain Saquon Barkley, and that's where things will open up in the passing game. I think even more so than what you saw from the Chiefs that just chose to just go after the quarterback almost every single play. I think you're going to see them really key in more so on Saquon Barkley coming out of the backfield, and that's where things I think will open up for your passing game. In total, by the way, 52 carries, 406 yards, and 4 touchdowns in 2 games against the Rams. So fantasy owners of Saquon Barkley, yeah, I could see where you'd have cause to be excited. As I mentioned earlier, this could be absolutely a breakout game for A.J. Brown. Rams had an injury to their secondary. Witherspoon's down. He's on IR, so Emmanuel Forbes moves up a spot or two. Again, he called him the least of his worries, so it's not a matter of worrying about who's going to be lining up across from you. It's a matter of what you got going on in-house. You know, I don't want to give you a story or anything, but it's more so about what the Eagles are doing than what anybody else is doing. Which, I do tip my cap to Matt Eberflus. I tip my cap to Steve Spagnuolo and what they've been able to do to the Eagles passing game. But now it's a matter of, I believe the Eagles, if they need to push that button, which I think they are in this game, they're going to have to push that button, which is get things going in the passing game. I mentioned this earlier. A.J. Brown last year, 109 yards on 6 catches and a touchdown in the regular season against the LA Rams. Let me see it again. If you can't repeat your success to the level in which you had before with Saquon Barkley, then let me see you repeat the success you had last year in the regular season against the Rams with those numbers for A.J. Brown. I mentioned before also the Rams defensive line, how good their defensive line is. Jared Verse, Braden Fisk is a guy I focused in on last year. Colby Turner is already off to a hell of a start so far this season. 3.5 sacks already in 2 games. I think it was Byron Young that forced the fumble last week. Maybe he jumped on it. So last week they beat the Titans. They put up 33 points. It was a 16. Get this right. It was a 20-16 Rams advantage early in the fourth quarter last week in Tennessee. 20-16 could still very well be, it still very much is anyone's game. The defensive line forced a sack fumble, gave the ball to the offense at the 29-yard line, and the Rams took it from there. The offense took it from there. Matthew Stafford and company took it from there and ran it up with a nice touchdown to really put the game out of reach for the Titans. That was the defense making a play in opponent's territory that they quickly flipped into 7 points in the other direction. That's pretty good. That's real good. That's what the Eagles have done. Not necessarily deep in their own zone, but they force turnovers when another team looks like they could be getting back into the game, taking a lead, putting together a go-ahead drive, whatever it might be. That's what good football teams do, and the Philadelphia Eagles certainly do that. The good news for the Eagles, though, is that, knock on IKEA wood, the good news for the Eagles, though, is that the Eagles only have 1 turnover in their last 8 games. That's pretty good. But, yeah, this defensive line can certainly get after it, and 1,000% no joke, something that you absolutely have to take serious. I've mentioned Puka Nacua and I've mentioned Davante Adams about 10 times already. But being fed by Matthew Stafford is something that I think every casual football fan even knows, like, oh, this isn't going to go, this could not go well. 28 catches between the two of them so far this season. 378 yards. Yeah, they're being used quite a bit. And Nacua last year took the Eagles for about 117 yards in the regular season matchup. And he was every ounce of versatile that you talk about when you talk about a talent that is Puka Nacua. And I believe last year he was even coming off of injury in that game. Cooper Kupp, he was, I don't think, was he back? I can't remember. I don't think he was, but Puka Nacua just has the ability to hurt you in so many different ways. And Sean McVay in particular he looks at Puka Nacua as if he is, the ultimate video game, just, a paintbrush to a masterpiece. That's how he looks at him. Eagles have been able to come out on top over the Rams in recent years, and it's been awesome. I can even remember a game where just Cooper Kupp was the star of the show, so to speak. And Eagles found a way after about 94 yards in the first half to contain him for about 30 yards in the second half. And that was, I mentioned it yesterday, in the Sean Desai era of calling plays on the Eagles defense. So I look forward to not just, everyone wants to talk about Shula potentially seeing with Mike Shula, defensive coordinator of the Rams, seeing Saquon Barkley again and maybe limiting him. But I also look forward to seeing what Vic Fangio does, seeing Matthew Stafford again. And when you talk about the Eagles' defensive matchup against the Rams, the number one person I think about, it's not even Quinyon Mitchell. It's not Cooper DeJean. It's all about Jalen Carter. And Jalen Carter, we all remember, game-sealing sack, more or less, against Matthew Stafford in the snow. I know we can talk about Saquon Barkley run in the snow and all that. But Jalen Carter controlling the line of scrimmage and opening up things for everybody else on this defensive line, that is going to be the key to this victory. If they're able to do that with great success. Now, they could have a great game. They could have great success in doing it. But they only need a couple of opportunities as an offense to make you pay. So even if they win the vast majority of the game, like I remember my old friend Hugh Douglas used to always tell me, is like, the good news for a defensive end is that you could win 2 plays in the 50 plays, 60 plays that you're out there. You could win 2 plays and you had a great game. Come up with 2 sacks. For an offensive lineman, you get beat twice, you had a terrible game. So that always is on a repeat in my head because I've talked to offensive linemen and defensive linemen, and that's the same philosophy for both. And how that is just remarkably unfair for an offensive lineman. But nonetheless, yeah, you have to just win the limited times that you can win as a defensive lineman. But you can win every play by always making sure you make a statement in the early goings of the game and just making the QB think about it. Just make them think about, he could be coming on this one. Could be coming on this one. So I do look forward to seeing how Vic Fangio uses his defense as a whole, obviously, but also especially defensive line winning their battles when it comes to Jalen Carter, when it comes to Jordan Davis, and whether or not you were able to get one game under your belt and all of a sudden feel like, okay, yeah, I got this. I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good. At least to the point that I can play at an even higher level of what I did last week, speaking as Jalen Carter, who got in there on the interception by Puka Nacua. Drew Makuba, there you go, and Jordan Davis, who was able to bat down a couple balls in that game there against the Kansas City Chiefs. So you do that, you get that pressure, expedite the process for Matthew Stafford, then, yeah, obviously that's going to help greatly. So I do look forward to that. So Puka Nacua and Davante Adams, obviously key targets in all of this, but if you can speed up that clock for Matthew Stafford and, yeah, still make him throw on the run, still get him out of the pocket, or just, quite frankly, bring him down, then, yeah, this will be a nice, easier win than some might expect going into this game. The other thing to look at in this game, I mentioned the game against the Titans last week for the Rams. They did not exactly shine last week against Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard had 90-plus yards last week, 4.6 yards per carry last week against the Rams defense. So, If Tony Pollard was a wee bit of a problem, then yeah, one would think Saquon is going to be an even bigger problem. And I do hope that's the case. Here's how I'm looking at this game. Offensively speaking, I look at this game with people feeling good about every aspect of the Eagles' offense after this game. Defensively, I look at this with a similar narrative that we saw after week 1, which was, maybe Adoree Jackson shouldn't be starting. Make no question that as much as the defense for the Rams might be keying in on Saquon Barkley, the offense of the Rams, and Sean McVay in particular, are going to be looking at how they just continue to go after Adoree Jackson. And they got 2 guys that can obviously do it. So defensively, I see not overall struggles, but even in a spot where Quinyon Mitchell's all over Devontae Smith or Cooper DeJean is all over Puka Nacua, I still see Adoree Jackson might even be all over Tutu Atwell. I still see them getting at least some of a step for a very good quarterback and a very good wide receiver to make a play. Hopefully it's not that. Hopefully it's Quinyon Mitchell picking off a pass. Hopefully it's his turn to do that. Hopefully it's Cooper DeJean getting involved in there. That's what I hope. And quite frankly, they could do it. But when it's all said and done, I look at this game like the Philadelphia Eagles come away with I said a little bit of a higher score yesterday on Eagle Squad. The closer I get to it, I see something more along the lines of a 27-23 Eagles victory. I think Saquon gets 100, and I think A.J. Brown gets 100. That's the way I look at this game. And I think the Eagles are going to need to be clicking on all cylinders going into this one. Let me know your score in the comments. There's one story I didn't see until yesterday, but shout out to my friend Devin Caney who put this out there. She was getting on the elevator she was on the elevator at Arrowhead Stadium, and 2 people dressed in Eagles attire, Cooper DeJean jerseys, as a matter of fact, were trying to get on the elevator full of Chiefs fans. And they jokingly said, these 2 older people, the Chiefs fans said to the 2 older people wearing Eagles attire, Cooper DeJean attire to be specific, "Oh no, can't let Eagles fans on here." And the 2 older people in the older couple in Cooper DeJean jerseys said, "Well, that's okay. Our grandson did pick off Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl." It was Cooper DeJean's grandparents, and they weren't letting them on the elevator. Like, it probably was full, so it probably wasn't good for him anyway. But there was a little murmur of laughter going on after that, which is a great pull by Mum and Pop, I guess. I don't know. Grammy and Grampy? I don't know. But a little sweet story to come out of Arrowhead Stadium. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show? Game Time app has you covered. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Real quick, let me get this. A Gatekeeper, how you doing? NFL is tired of our tush-push bullcrap. I hate how this is bullcrap. I'm amazed that so many other teams, like, if no other team tried, this is what I was thinking about yesterday, and Jason Martinez, when I was doing Locked On Eagle Squad show yesterday, turned me on to this. The John Gruden video of breaking down the tush push, which if you haven't seen it, look, it's amazing. It'd be one thing if no NFL team tried it. For instance, if the argument against the Eagles was, no one else is going to run this play because it's dangerous, so no one else is going to run it because it's so dangerous, well, then I could look at the NFL and be like, oh, wow, okay, the Eagles are the only one risking their quarterback, risking players. They're the only ones doing that. But no, it's everyone trying it and failing, or trying it and having success but still saying you shouldn't do it because they don't have the same amount of success as Philadelphia Eagles. It's all just sour grapes. And the fact that so many other teams have tried it and failed where the Eagles tried a lot and have success a lot, the vast majority of the time, like 84% last time. In 2022, I read somewhere, 2022, it was 96% successful. So since then, the rest of the league's tried it. The rest of the league, other than like the Bills, the Bills have failed at it. And people want to ban it because the Eagles do it great. This is such sour grapes, loser energy by the rest of the NFL. And I know that there's a report out there, I think it was even from Adam Schefter, just saying that this Eagles team, or that the officials, specifically in the Eagles-Rams game, need to call the tush-push perfectly. Whether it comes to offsides, whether it comes to false starts, they need to call it. My guess is they're going to be really looking for false starts. Really looking for false starts. And my assumption, as the report came out of Kansas City, if you are thinking that the other team is mimicking or mocking your cadence, silent count, babe. Silent count. Eagles fan, hello. Sean Kilrain, hello. Oh, you got 31-24. You and I are in the same ballpark. Saquon's numbers against the Rams are incredible. Ooh, how about this? Sean Kilrain, most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in their first 6 seasons, including playoffs. 68, Jalen Hurts. 58, Josh Allen. Or 50, Josh Allen. How about that? Cam Newton. How about that Cam Newton? Tyler Higbee, absolutely. Terrence Ferguson, tight ends. Yep, they're pretty damn good as well. Oh, that is gross. Sean Conrad, Phillies have a 39-51 record at Chase Field all time. That's terrible. Jason A. still ready for Red October? Jason A., Rams are going to be our toughest game. It certainly feels like that. The reason I just see this as being such a tough game, to focus on this for a second, Jason, is I really think you have two mad scientists here. This is a great matchup when you talk about Sean McVay versus Vic Fangio. Both speak at length about how much they respect the other. This is going to be one of my favorite chess matches to watch all year, really. Yeah, it's fun to see. Okay, Kevin Patullo comes out in his first game against a guy that he coached against in Dallas, in Matt Eberflus, a guy he coached with, in Matt Eberflus. So I looked forward to just seeing how that would work out. First half, great. Second half, not so much. Him going up against Steve Spagnuolo, an ultimate test. It worked to the point that they won. But this is a case where you have two guys that have been doing this, Vic Fangio for a very long time, Sean McVay for a long time. Both have had success. This is going to be my favorite matchup, even more so than Jalen Carter going up against the offensive line. This is the matchup I want to see. This game is going to be one in the booth and on the sidelines. So that's something that I really look forward to going to this one. Sean Gillespie, yes, good morning. Absolutely. Sean Gillespie, hello. Patullo needs to be on his game in this one. Absolutely. Wait, it's like two brothers trying to outdo each other. Which big brother, Nick, wins? I hope so. I hope so. That's what it feels like to me as well. Hey, tonight, I'll be with you guys. A couple of things. One, I have Locked On 76ers today, 10:30, so catch me there. I have Fox 29 coming up at 7:15. Catch me there. And I have Locked On Phillies postcast tonight after the 9:40 start time. So I look forward to that. Again, I'm going to go 27-23. Eagles win this game over the LA Rams. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You guys are great. As per usual, I'll be back with you guys throughout the day, really, and tonight. And then back with you guys Monday. Also, Seth Joyner show, pre- and post-game, 1 o'clock kickoff time. So we'll be talking to you guys 11:30 to 12:30 on Sunday. So I look forward to that. So make sure you guys like and subscribe to Farzy Show. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. Catch you guys throughout the day. And then again tonight after the Phillies hopefully take it to the Arizona Diamondbacks in Arizona tonight.